joining us on the Western Hotline as we talk about the history of Highmark and look back and get some memories and talk to all of you and people that have been there a lot. Bill Wippert joins us, chief team photographer, Buffalo Sabres and Buffalo Bills. Whip, you posted something yesterday, and I saw you say 45 years taking pictures in that stadium. And then I sent you a text. I'm like, we got to talk to you because of all the people that have been there. You got a lot of games there at Highmark, and you've taken, obviously, a lot of looks through your lens.
Well, thank you very much, Jeremy. Good morning, Jeremy and Joe. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thanks. Well, time flies when you're having fun, I guess, right? I mean, you put a number to it. 45 years is crazy. Still doing it, still love it, still fortunate to have good hips and knees that allow me to do it. And I've got a men's league hockey game tonight at 10:30 to play, so that allows me to do that too. So I'm blessed.
I'm immediately wanting to ask if there any big collisions in your career here?
Well, it's one of the jokes we always say, hey, Bill, how was the game? And I'm like, well, my first answer is didn't get run over, didn't get wet. So this past week, didn't get run over.
There you go.
It did get wet. So knock on wood, knock on AstroTurf. Never been run over, but it's always a concern, especially when you're kneeling, you're looking, you've got cameras, 3 different cameras in your hands, and you're trying to pay attention and do your job. So, and there's a TV cart behind you and things like that. So, fortunately, have not. The post that you saw was on my Instagram, and that one was just sort of thinking back to all the relationships and the people I've had with me on the sidelines at games. We don't really use assistants anymore. Technology has allowed for us to basically move photos quick enough. But back in the day, we had assistants that were just doing things for us. So it was a series of friends that would do it, and our daughter Stephanie later on in life, and she was able to do it. So that was me kind of thinking back to what I take out of a lot of this stuff is just the people and the relationships, and the wins and losses kind of blur sometimes. But the people you meet along the way, that's what spurred that post on.
What do you remember about your first game?
Senior in high school at St. Joe's, as I was when I started shooting Sabres games. And I looked back at some prints, and I couldn't even put them up there because they're so bad. I mean, you couldn't even say that I was trying to be artistic. You might look at them now and say, oh, wow, that's cool. Look at the blurs and everything. And it was a night game. It was a night preseason game that I was granted a photo pass through from the then wife of Robert L. Smith, the Bills' original team photographer. We kind of a side note, I went to the same dentist that he went to, which was the Bills team dentist. So I think it was in the era before pediatric dentists. So I was literally, I'd be sitting in the waiting room with Bills players of that era, not being taken care of like a pediatric dentist would today. But, like 1976 in high school, and blurry photos, and then went on and got better, I think.
Well, so you kind of grow up as a young photographer into many different outlets, right? Like, are you the UPI, the AP? Like, along the way, who did you shoot for? Of course, now you're chief photographer of the Bills and the Sabres, so your access is different now. Like, over the years, if you're thinking about the stadium, are you thinking about the faces of fans? Are you thinking about the faces of players, whether you had guys that are photogenic that loved the camera, guys that didn't love the camera, or iconic moments, whether it's a Taron Johnson pick six, or like when you think about, it's like the slideshow flashes for you on Highmark Stadium. What are the images that come to mind?
Well, I mean, you touched on a lot of topics there. I have covered games there for a number of outlets. Originally, it was just basically freelancing as a kid, trying to figure out what I was doing and trying to learn. United Press International, somebody from my era would remember Buffalo Fan magazine. It was a really cool monthly sports magazine. It became a city magazine. Shot pictures for them. Then was hired by the Buffalo News following college at Buff State, and shot the Bills games for 15, 18 years for the Buffalo News. So I covered all the Super Bowl era teams, and leading up to it from the 80s into the 90s. And then after about 1995, I was freelance. I was still with the News, but I was freelancing the games. I shot for Topps trading cards. So a lot of the cards from that area, I photographed for Topps. when the Bills were home. I also then photographed for the Associated Press, and then in 2017 I began through my Sabres relationships and the Pagulas buying the team. I jumped on board and started doing working for the Bills. So Ben Green leads our Bills photo operations right now, and I'm one of the team photographers, and so it's been for a variety of outlets for sure. Great games that pop out. I mean, the first thing, I can argue with myself, but I'll always say the 51-3 game, which if you're from here, you know what it means. Right? That's a score. Why would you identify a game by the score? But we all know what that means, right? It kind of took in a lot of different eras because we weren't a great team for a while. We got pretty good. We got knocked out in the playoffs by Cleveland and Cincinnati in the years leading to that season. And then we got to the AFC Championship game, and Gulf War was going on. And I'll never forget the feeling that I was shooting that game, and it was the AFC Championship game, and I was on the field covering that game, and it felt like, wow, this is the game that other teams play in. This is what we watch the Dolphins and the Chiefs and the Broncos play in this game, and the Raiders, they play in this game. It's like now we're in it. This is the game. And to have us run away with it in the first half, and the second half, became a party. And then the knowledge that we were leaving the next day for Tampa, because that was one of the weird years where they didn't have a 2-week break for the Super Bowl. So we jumped on planes the next day to go to Tampa for our first Super Bowl, or as we call Super Bowl one.
Right.
It was the 25th, but in Buffalo vernacular, right, it's Super Bowl one.
Yeah, and that year, that's the Whitney Houston iconic, national anthem. The backdrop of you're the second person today to reference the backdrop of Desert Storm, Desert Shield, whichever it would have been at the time, the one of the Iraq conflicts. How that was very much context of that Super Bowl.
Oh, completely, and it was the AFC Championship game. I mean, there were American flags. There the fans held signs about it. The anthem was sung louder than normally, and it was a great backdrop for it, and it certainly took on a bigger role the next week in the Super Bowl. There's so many great games. I will never forget. I mean, the visuals of the snow game, the 2017. Win over the Colts in that epic snowstorm just jumps out to me. I mean, the red uniforms that day, and of course, it's all elevated because of one main thing: we won.
Yeah, right.
I think had we lost that game, the game would have been just kind of a big pain, right? Yeah, I was there, but whatever. And then we win that game, and it became iconic.
Yeah, for your job, do you remember thinking, was it going to be a tougher day for you when the weather had become that extreme, or maybe even you thought that would be more helpful for you?
Bad weather is never helpful. It can, in hindsight, it can become cute and nice and all that, but it's just you're. I even said it last week in that weather, and try to be an optimist. Like last week was tough. It's like you're just running uphill. To school both ways, right? But as an optimist, that weather could have been worse last week. There was no wind. So, in Buffalo terms, it wasn't that bad. It was just straight down pouring, but it wasn't windy. But heavy snow presents a problem because your autofocus likes to grab onto snowflakes and not the player that you're trying to photograph. The rain, you're shooting under cover, so it makes it hard for everybody that's on the media and the sidelines to try to do their job. So it presents a nice picture sometimes, but it makes it harder. But when you look back at it, it's so cool.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
The last game Sunday against the Jets, Bill, we might get. I'm thinking about the signs we could see in the stands, fans bringing stuff. Of course, you've got your character fans, the way they dress up, whoever they are. Through the years, you would have had so many different people that come through those turnstiles at Highmark that are just all these different personalities that kind of add to the flavor of a stadium like Highmark.
Great fans, and we see the ones that are just down close, but I know there's just as many that are up in the 200 level and up in the upper reaches of the 300 level too, right? I mean, they're just great fans, and they're sitting there And they don't get the notoriety, but there's some famous Bills fans that do, front row fans that dress up like either movie characters or, Elvis or, like just so, John that does that. And there's times you think, well, I'm not going to shoot that. They've been over photographed, but at the same time, it's like, it's always a good photo.
Yeah.
And they go to the effort to dress up and do things. It's like they deserve to have their photo taken.
Well, the final game Sunday at Highmark Stadium, do you feel like having shot so many games there, it'll be emotional to you? Like I feel like was surprised myself watching the Bills retrospective on the farewell to Highmark, like how it hit me. I have not spent nearly as many games there as you have, but it is about the people. It's about the memories, about the people you've been next to in that building, and how we're basically all moving out together. And sometimes moving is an emotional experience, and now all of us are just kind of moving out the same day.
Thankfully, we're just moving across the street.
That's right. And thankfully, we don't have to carry in. Well, we got to carry some of our own stuff. You got some stuff to carry.
That's okay. I'm happy to do it. I think we're moving across the street. It's emotional for sure, but the team is here. We're blessed to have a team. It's not a big market. The fact that I think a lot of us will just be continuing across the street, and those relationships will continue. And at the same, part of me is also like Sal had gone through some of the the possibilities. Like my mind is that there's still a chance that there could be another game, right? But whereas like when we closed down the odd, and I was a big part of that, that was it. They played Sabres played Hartford Whalers, those cool green uniforms that the Hurricanes wear once in a while now.
Yeah.
That was emotional. That was cool. I mean, that was like. I had been there. I spent a lot of time at the Odd. I spent, an equal amount of, as much time now at Highmark. But there's a future. So I'm emotional about it. I thought the farewell documentary that our amazing content team put together was really cool. I thought it touched all the notes and the emotions and the highlights. But I think it's tempered by the fact that we're going to move across the street and make a new history.
I'm excited for that too, that part of it too. Bill, thanks so much for the time, and enjoy the one, maybe final game, possibly final game, likely final game. Maybe we get one more.
We'll talk about it even further on the golf course this summer.
You know it. Thanks, Bill.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Bill Wippert, chief photographer, Buffalo Bills and Buffalo Sabres. 45 years taking pictures in that stadium. He posted, I'm like, all right, let's talk to Whip. Why not, right?